Hello. Well, anybody who subscribed to my channel recently could be forgiven for wondering what the hell's going on, because I haven't had any new uploads for quite a long time. And that's basically because nothing much is happening. This video is a very brief upload on the oil leaks that I was battling with on the Harrison M300. And yesterday I tested positive for COVID, so I'm going to be isolating for the next 5 days and not doing anything very much. I'm still waiting for three-phase electricity to arrive. There's only one tiny thing that needs doing, but it's taking time to organise. And we can't really do anything interesting until we've got power on the lathe. So this is a holding update, really. No great progress in it. There's very little natural light in my workshop, so I'm dependent upon these large LED panels which I put in. And annoyingly, the one in the bottom right hand corner has stopped working, or it's gone on the blink. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I took it out and connected it up on the desk and it worked perfectly. I wiggled everything and fiddled with everything, it still worked perfectly. I put it back in the ceiling and it stopped working. So that's a bit of a nuisance. I think I can find a receipt for one of these panels, so maybe I can take it back and get it replaced. So I wasted quite a lot of time trying to stop this apron from leaking from the base. But it is still leaking, as you can see there, and it goes round the corner to there. And almost goes down the drain hole that it's supposed to go down. But I misdiagnosed this problem. It's not actually leaking from the bottom cover at all. It's this drive shaft which goes through a tube here, and the tube rotates inside a bearing, and it has a shaft seal on each end. And it's those shaft seals that are leaking, but very slowly. I didn't fix those shaft seals because I couldn't work out how to get the whole thing out down there. It's not very clear looking at the parts diagram. If anybody knows how to get the tube in there through which this shaft passes out from the apron, I'd be glad to know. The parts diagram is confusing because you've got all this stuff here, and I think this tube is the one I'm interested in. And then there's this stuff over here, which possibly goes over this tube, I don't know. Parts of this is duplicated. This is the same bearing as that bearing. But when I looked at the apron in the flesh, I was looking for grub screws or roll pins that I could knock out and hopefully withdraw that tube, but I couldn't see how it actually worked. I'm not going to fix this apron leak now until I can get some power on this lathe and take some test cuts and make a proper assessment of whether it's worth fiddling more with this lathe or whether it needs to be thrown in the skip or sent for regrinding the bedways. I can take this apron off in 3 minutes. I've done it so many times now. So, fixing a leak in here is a relatively minor thing, which I can do any time. And I see that the headstock is leaking here, which I think is coming from the spindle oil seal where the drive goes into the headstock. I had looked at that and it seemed to be not leaking, but I think it is leaking. And this is a lesson. I replaced an oil seal on the back of the headstock, and I'd taken the view with the headstock that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The less I mess about with it, the better. But that was probably wrong. I should have replaced all the oil seals. There are only two, one in the front and one in the back. But doing that would require substantially disassembling the headstock. But the oil seal that I replaced at the back, when I took it out, it was so hard and brittle that I could just crumble it in my fingers. So I should have learned from that the other one is likely to be the same, isn't it? So that's just some work that I've got to do one day. But, these leaks are slow, so I can just top up the oil level to make sure it's okay and put up with the leaks for the meantime.